Good morning, YouTube. Several years ago I made a video where I looked at some of the hardware considerations if you're trying to do video transcoding on a Synology NAS. So this is my DS1513 Plus NAS models. So that video generated a lot of questions wanting to see how transcoding is set up and how to do it, what it looks like. So I wanted to answer those questions in this video. It's going to be rather long, so what I'll do is I'll put timestamps in the video description where I break up the major steps. So the first step we'll do is look at the Synology Video Station application, which is right here. We'll look at the transcoding settings in the Video Station app. Video Station is the main video serving application that you would probably use on your Synology NAS for movies and other sorts of video content. So in the second section we'll look at my live TV server, which also has some transcoding settings. These are more real-time settings. And then in the third section, we'll actually look at a live demo of video transcoding happening and look at when it works and when it doesn't work. So like I said, I'll put the timestamps to those sections down below if you want to just skip right in there. And otherwise, let's just take a quick look at what is transcoding. So here's the Wikipedia page on transcoding, and as it says here, it's the direct digital-to-digital conversion of one encoding to another. So you might be converting from MPEG-2 to MP4, maybe you're converting from 5.1 audio to 2.1 audio, maybe you're changing a 1080p signal down to 480p. You might be going for a lower bit rate. So that's what transcoding is. Now, one way to do transcoding is you could do it offline or manually. Get a program like Handbrake, open up your video. You can change all your settings here, change the format. You can change the video encoding, the size, the aspect ratio, bit rate, whatever you want to change, and then start encoding. And you could do that on a file by file basis. That's essentially what YouTube does. When I upload a video, it might be in 1080p format. Well, YouTube in the background will offline render different resolutions of that video. They might make a 360p, 480p, 720p, and they do that so that when some user connects to YouTube and wants to view the video, they try to pick the video that most closely matches their data connection and their device. And they do that, they're trading off storage space for processing time. So the idea is you process all these different versions of the video once, save them to disk, and they are played back. You just play back the one that's closest to what you want. So let's go over here. I'll show you on the Synology. We'll take a look at the Video Station application here, and I've got it open in another tab. If you go up to the gear icon, you can get the settings panel, and that's where you can change the settings. You've got your library, parental control. The DTV or digital TV function doesn't have any transcoding settings by itself, but I have that function disabled on my Synology, and I'll show you what I use instead later. And if you go over here to Advanced, you'll find Transcoding settings. So there are two settings visible here, and then there's a third setting that I'll show you in a bit. So the two options that I think every system has is this AC pass-through. This is an audio pass-through feature for Apple TV. And then there's also this public sharing option. And with that, you have three choices here. You can disallow transcoding, you can allow transcoding audio and video, or you can just allow audio transcoding or remuxing as they describe it. So yeah, those are the two settings that every system has. So this is the Synology website where they're discussing the video playback options for Video Station. And right here they mention hardware acceleration. So there's certain NAS units that have hardware accelerated transcoding, as it mentions here. So if your hardware is capable of hardware accelerated transcoding, you have the option to enable or disable that. Now you can see my device doesn't have that option because I've got an older unit. And if we take a look here, so if you come down here and click on this 4K video transcoding link, it brings you to this page. So certain models have CPUs that have hardware acceleration built in. So mainly you're looking at the 2018 models, so all of these 18. The 18 signifies the year of release, and then there's a few of the 2016 models. So these are the smaller media server NAS units. Yeah, so those units have the Intel Celeron N3000 based processor. Yeah, it has the HD graphics Braswell GPU integrated. So that's how come those particular units can do hardware accelerated graphics, because it's on the CPU chip. Okay, so that covers the transcoding settings. And if you come down here to the bottom of the advanced menu, there's two other options. So the DLNA interface here, that's just your network connection, but it's this DLNA server that the Video Station application is. That's where all of the video transcoding negotiation happens between your DLNA server, which is your Synology, and then whatever your DLNA client, you know, that might be a PC or a Mac or a laptop, tablet, phone. Just as an example, here's the Synology page. They're talking about using the VLC web plugin on a PC or a Mac to access the Video Station, and you can come in here to the settings for that plugin and you can select things like playback quality. So you can do original quality, just says play the video as it exists on the NAS. So you can tell the NAS that you want a high quality, a medium, or low. And it mentions down here, choose medium or low for faster file transmission. And that would be the case, say, if you're on a low bandwidth network. So that's how transcoding typically happens between your client, where you select what you want, and then the server, where you've enabled transcoding. And then the client and the server, will try to negotiate some sort of mutually viewable video. So there's one other setting down here. Again, this isn't related to transcoding per se, but this is a new feature they've added, I think, since DSM-6, is that you can pre-analyze newly added videos to enhance viewing experience. So let me show you what that means. Here's the Synology support forum, and somebody asked, what is that feature? And if you come down here, it does three things. It goes through the video, extracts all the keyframe locations, saves that to an external file when you subsequently play that video. And if you go forward or backward, maybe you want to skip ahead a minute or 2 minutes, it will seek to one of those keyframes instead of just jumping into the middle of some intermediate video frame and having a garbled image for a while. And then it also extracts embedded subtitles. So this feature is basically for enhanced video playback or viewing experience, as they say. Anyway, those are the settings that you can change. Now there's one other thing you can do. So again, here are the transcoding settings. So this is real-time transcoding. So there's also this offline or background transcoding. And the idea is that you can convert your videos into MP4 format. So the way you do that is you have to do this on a video by video basis. So if I come over here to my movie library, if I click on these three buttons, it brings up a menu. This is an MPEG-2 video, and maybe I have some device that can't handle MPEG-2. So what I could do is come in here and offline transcode, and then I can select high, medium, or low video quality. So then the Synology will create an MP4 version of this video file in high, medium, or low quality, and it will do that offline. So if you look back here, what it does is it takes the original file name and then it sticks on the quality. You know, where you might use this is maybe you want to create a bunch of low quality videos that you can view when you're not on your local network. So maybe you're traveling and you want to be able to log in and view maybe a TV series you want to catch up on. So you could offline transcode all of those recorded programs and make a low quality version available, which will be a lower bit rate that you could view from a cell phone or a tablet or something like that. And what you're doing is you're trading disk space for processing power. So if your NAS isn't able to transcode one of the videos in real time, you could do this in the background or offline, let this run overnight and produce low quality versions of all your recordings. And then when you log in from outside and request a low quality version, it's sitting right there on the hard drive. So I think that pretty much covers transcoding. You can either do this offline transcoding or there's real-time transcoding. How much you can do is totally determined by the processor that's in your NAS, and I covered that in detail in the previous video, so you can go back and look at that. So let's take a look now at my TV server application that I run on my Synology that does have some transcoding options, and we can see that in action. I use the DvbLink TV server. There's also their new version is called TV Mosaic. But you can see here I have 4 TV tuners. TV source 1 is tuned to the movies channel. It's currently receiving an SD video stream, and you can see that here. You know, it's going between 2 and up to maybe 4.5 megabits a second. That's probably a commercial that might be at higher resolution than the old black and white movie that's playing. This is probably color, and that's black and white, but that's my live TV server, and it's doing transcoding. So you can see here I have enabled video transcoding. That's turned on right there. And let's go back to the Synology display here. And you can see right now the green is the download. So this is in kilobytes per second. If you take that and roughly multiply by 10, you'll get kilobits per second. So about 3 megabits per second download. That's the raw SD video coming into the Synology. And then the blue, the going out or upload speed. So it's about 100 kilobytes or roughly 1 megabit per second up. And that's going to my Kodi media player over Wi-Fi. So that's what transcoding is doing. It's taking 265 kilobytes a second and squishing it down to 129 kilobytes per second. And I'm also reducing the screen resolution to do that bitrate compression. And you can see the CPU is moderately busy, you know, it's 43%. And in fact, if we go up here, let's look at the resource monitor. So on this Synology, all of the video transcoding is done in the CPU. So I'm using 32, there's about 40% of the CPU, using close to 400 megabytes. That is video transcoding. It's all being done on the CPU in this Synology. Let's look at the processor information here. So this is an Intel Atom D2700, 2 cores, 2.13 gigahertz, and there's 4 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. That's all that's there. There's no hardware acceleration, and as long as you can fit that in the CPU, so with the CPU usage, there's 2 cores, so 50% would be 1 core totally busy. And you can see I'm running pretty close to 1 core busy, and then the other core is handling all the other stuff. I'm doing about as much transcoding as I can handle, and you can see it's working. It's been running for a couple hours now. So that's transcoding. And then that happens over here. So you get your DvbLink server is doing all of that work. And in fact, if we look in here, there you can see right there, the FFmpeg library is the one doing all the transcoding. So that's the bulk of the processing time is spent in FFmpeg running software transcoding on the CPU. So that's how it works. The FFmpeg does all the work. The CPU runs the code. Once this hits 50%, you've maxed out 1 core. I don't think this is multi-threaded, although they do have this option over here. It says run on a single CPU, so I don't have that checked. So hopefully that helps understand the transcoding. There's very little control over it. You enable it, and then all of the negotiation happens between the client and the server, and it either works or it doesn't work. And it's obvious in either case. Okay, here we are running with video transcoding. So I've got my Kodi media player. This is an old LCD TV that I have hooked up to a Raspberry Pi. This is running on Wi-Fi, and it's out in my shop, which is a fair distance from the wireless access point, so I don't get a lot of bandwidth here. But I've got the transcoding set up and working, so I have it set for 360 pixels by 240 pixels high. This display is 720 across and 480 vertical, and then 1 megabit per second bit rate. And I can configure that through the Kodi PVR client, which is the DvbLink client. So this is coming in off of the Silicon Dust Network TV tuner, going into the Synology, being transcoded from, this is an SD channel, compressing it down to 1 megabit per second. There's no stuttering, no buffering, no pausing. Now if I try to go any higher, either bigger resolution or a higher bit rate, it will start to buffer, and I'll show you what that looks like. That's the DvbLink PVR client. And there's all the settings. Okay, there we get a little better picture, so you can see I've got 1024 for the bit rate. I have transcoding enabled, so the client will request transcoding support from the server, and then I have the height and the width right there set to 360 by 240, which is half horizontal and half vertical. So according to the Synology transcoding page, my NAS model, it says it can do a 720p, but then it talks about 360p resolution for Android. And I figure this Kodi running here, it's running Debian Linux. I don't know what the difference between Android and not Android is as far as their transcoding goes. This seems to be about the limit of what you can do. So that's what it looks like when it works. And I'll show you what it looks like when it doesn't work. When it doesn't work, it's very obvious that it's not working. I'll show you here one that probably won't work. So this is an HD, it's a 720p channel. So you can see how it's freezing and breaking up, pixelating. That is one that does not work. So that's how you tell that transcoding isn't working. It's very obvious. I mean, it's trying. It is not working. So let's turn that off. And then we'll come down here to the one I was running before. This one is a 480p or an SD channel that we were watching before. And you can see that one works fine. So the server is having to do less work because the signal's already a fairly low resolution. It's 480p instead of 720p, and it's a lot easier to take that 480p signal and shrink it down than it is a 720p signal and shrink it down. But that's one of the reasons I would really like to upgrade my NAS to get one that can handle, say, a 720p or a 1080i live TV signal and send it over here. That would be ideal. But you can see this works perfect. So that's the thing with real-time transcoding. If you can do it in real time, it works. If you can't do it in real time, it doesn't work. That's working. The other channel with the exact same settings isn't working, and it's just strictly a problem of the CPU in my Synology NAS just can't handle that amount of data that comes in on a 720p signal. It can't compress it fast enough, and you saw what happened. But again, this is real time. This signal is coming in over the air, being received by the HD Home Run Network TV tuner. The digital stream is going over gigabit Ethernet to the Synology, where it's being received and transcoded in the CPU on the Synology. Then that transcoded stream is going out gigabit Ethernet to my wireless access point, and then that Wi-Fi signal is coming into the Raspberry Pi and being converted back to video. If you can do it in real time, it's watchable. If you can't do it in real time, it's unwatchable. So it's very obvious if it's working and if it's not working. But that's video transcoding. It all happens right there, FFmpeg, and all you do is turn it on, and what you see is what you get. So yeah, if you have any other questions, post up in the comment section down below, and I'll put some links to the earlier video over here on the left side, and then when I get the new NAS, I'll put the video of the new NAS doing video transcoding over here on the left side. And as always, thanks for watching.